describe the pipe business? Because I hardly know anything about it. I know a little bit from your YouTube videos, but for the listeners, I think it would be very interesting to hear the nuts and bolts of how it works.
Sure. Okay, so you've got in steel pipe, right? Like you've got two different markets. You've got an oil and gas downhole market, and then you have a construction market. So those are your just straight down the middle, two different markets. Um, what I do is I buy used tubing or casing, primarily directly from the operators themselves. Um, then I usually buy it off location. I'll set up forklifts, trucks, ship it to a third party reclamation yard, depending on the state that I buy it out of and which yard I want to send it to and what I want to do with the pipe. From there, I'll pay to have it reclaimed to certain levels, depending on what I want to use it for. And then I sell it into that second market for steel pipe, which is construction. And that construction people always ask, like, what do you mean construction? So you've got two different ones. You've got commercial and then you got residential. So you use steel pipe in commercial for things such as skyscrapers for the footings, footers for bridges, cell phone towers, the cables that come down, the helical piling is what it's called, is pipe that's screwed into the ground that holds those cables. That's oil and gas pipe. And the reason these construction companies use used oil field pipe is because it's typically stronger and cheaper than new construction grade material. Um, the downside to that is that used pipe isn't made on a production schedule. It's a byproduct of the oil and gas industry. So I'm kind of that middle, quote unquote, middleman, juggling all these different things.
So it's like it sounds like a capital intensive business in a way because you got to actually
Very,
purchase the pipe.
very,
Do
yeah.
you go and do it with, do you have like lines of credit? Do you do like financing? Do you buy it with cash? Like, I mean, how does that just like sounds like a barrier to entry there? You kind of have to have money to make money.
Kind of. I mean, I started the company out with a $20,000 capital injection of my own money. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I started it from that. And then almost 4 years later, grew it to this. So I
Yeah.
mean, you can start with $1, you can start with 100 grand. It doesn't matter.
Does the scale help you at all? Like if you have more capital to buy more, does that make you, or are there deals to be done? Like where's the sweet, like once you get too big or you're then competing with the big boys or something like that? And again, these are just ignorant questions, but is it like, is there a sweet spot?
No, they're great questions. Like, so Max, that's excellent question. So, like, I leverage capital in various ways. But as far as okay, so I'll start with just my holding position. Like, as far as the amount of capital that I own personally, 90% of it I keep actually tied up in inventory. So I'm always holding inventory on some form of speculation. And then when I sell it, ideally I'm replacing it with pipe that I bought on speculation as well. So about 90% of my funds are usually in inventory. And then of those funds, about 75% of that money is just my own capital. And then half of the remainder of that I use for quick flips, which is like a line of credit on a bank where I'll use that for only like a 48-hour need. So I have very little interest, if any at all.
Yeah.
Um, and then I flip that money really fast, so I don't have to catch the interest on it. And that's only when my current capital is like totally tied up in inventory. And then the third way that I do deals, which is the smallest portion, is just like venture, or JV deals, like joint ventures. So like I'll just find another guy that's in pipe, or sometimes a guy that's not in pipe that wants to throw some money in. Say, hey, I need to buy this inventory. I'm a little short on cash. I know I can turn it in 90 days. You'll get an 8% return in 90 days. Do you want to throw money in? Yes or no? And then we just talk from there and, set up simple buyer's agreements as far as contracts. It's pretty straightforward. I'd like to eventually scale that at some point, but I want to use as much outside money as possible that I still retain as much control as possible. And I know those two don't really go together.
Yeah. Well, it's always a balance, right? I mean, you give up
Yeah.
something to get something.